Okay. I will call to order the virtual February 8th, 2021 Triton School Board meeting. First, we will do a roll call for attendance. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Here.
Here.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Here.
Missy,
Here.
and Rebecca here. Dale is not here. Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did we have any visitors?
We did not have anyone that wished to address the board.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we will approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Dewey.
Motion by Dewey,
Second by
Lloyd.
Wendy.
second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. Cobra Pride.
A huge thank you to Dodge County Public Health. I contacted Amy Karen today just to ask how many members that were actually a part of that team that has been getting everyone vaccinated. There's like 15 of them. So I told them that I was going to send them all some Cobra Pride zipper pulls. We have 80% of our staff that will be vaccinated after this Wednesday's vaccination. So I don't know if you guys know what's going on in other areas, but there's a lot of schools in the state that don't have hardly any of their staff vaccinated. So feel very blessed to have Dodge County do such an amazing job. And I know Casa Manorville, Hayfield are both in the same boat with us. And it's just a tremendous relief off of our back, you know, looking at all the other things we're trying to do to get kids back. It's really nice to have been able to do that. And I've got a number of people that will sub for us vaccinated as well. So really fortunate and thankful to work with such a great group, and wanted to publicly thank them for that.
Okay, thank you. Next up, approve consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull out of the consent agenda? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This Jim, I approve.
Motion by Jim. Do we have a second?
Wendy will second.
Second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Aye.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. New business. 7.1, discuss approved changes to Triton Safe Learning Plan.
Sorry. I sent out the document with the weekly update, and I just tried to give kind of a synopsis of, you know, how we started the year, where we're at now, and try to give you some of the things that go into the decisions that we make throughout the school year. So hopefully that kind of helps explain all the different entities that come into place when we are looking at making changes and doing the different things. So with that, just kind of a quick reminder, the real changes that we're looking at are for 6-12. When we originally started the year, we had those 3 plans for in-person, hybrid, and distance learning. We've used all three of those, but with some of the executive orders came into place, I've really put some restrictions on what we can do. Probably the biggest conflicting thing that I felt we were dealing with was the governor's order to have the 30 minutes of prep, but how do you provide that during a school day and call it an in-person model? Because really, if you still use like what I'm recommending, to use a Friday for to work with kids that need that support, and also provide the prep time for teachers, because they get a half hour each day. So we'll need to provide 2 hours of prep for them on Fridays, but still have them doing other things. So that Friday was kind of a head scratcher, because if we're using Fridays to do that, technically you would be in a hybrid plan. So I needed to call the regional center, regional support center, to ask if it would be considered an in-person model or a hybrid model. And they really didn't have a concrete answer. They said, really, you could call that either one. So that's why I wanted to make sure that whatever we're doing, we get approved, because it really is a change. And so looking to roll in grades 6, 12, and goal would be to have them all back in person by the start of 4th quarter. It's kind of a continuation of what we've already started with the pre-K through 5 process. We are looking to reconvene those building team meetings that we had at the beginning of the year to get input. We'd maintain Fridays as a distance learning intervention day. We would be looking at starting this on March 1st. And we would looking to have the approval of this plan specifics on February 16th meeting, because we do need to have a special meeting for the approval of the bids that are coming in. And I just thought that would be an easy way to tie this along with that. But really what I'm looking for tonight is just to get approval to move forward with those guidelines, because I think we need some sort of framework in place to move forward. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone was okay with what was outlined there. And take questions, of course.
Do we have any questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve the changes to Triton Safe Learning Plan?
I so move. Missy?
Motion by
Second,
Missy
Jim.
and seconded by Jim. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries.
So really the plan would be then to bring the final plan for approval, because we need to look at, how are we rotating and all of those kinds of things. So we will bring that back next week.
Thank you. Thank you for all the information. 7.2, resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reduction in programs and positions and reasons therefore.
And basically this is a blanket approval to make any cuts that we need to make. This is something we do every year. If there are things that we need to cut, that this would give those permission to do that. But of course, we would always talk about those if we were to do any of that.
So moved, Lloyd.
Motion by Lloyd,
Second by
Second,
Wendy.
Jim.
second by Wendy. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. The resolution carries. 7.3, enrollment update.
I don't know if you got a chance to look very closely at these numbers, but my first reaction was kind of concerned with holy buckets, what's going on. So if you look at the graph, the chart on the left, currently we have, according to this, 1,016 students. Last year at this time, 1,072. 2 years ago, 1,123, and 2018, 1,148. So there is an enrollment decline, which is concerning. And it has kind of the class sizes laid out there. The next thing I'll talk about is the graph on the right. And it starts out with the bottom number, the 1051. That's what we started the school year with. And then it moves to the right, where we're currently at is 1016. And I was kind of shocked to see that number, to be honest, because that seemed like a rather big number compared to what I was thinking it was. But if you look up at the very top row, you'll see ECSE, and that number went from 32 to 20. And I talked with Mary about that today, and that number was actually kind of misreported. That number is actually 34, which helps the numbers a little bit, but it still makes it sort of confusing. So I did draw up another chart, which I'm going to show you here. And what I wanted to do with this chart, because if you look at this number, these numbers are from Infinite Campus. So Infinite Campus is what we use to report our ADM, or actually what we get paid. And if you go from the very top, early childhood, preschool, all the way down to 12th grade, you'll see that if you look at those numbers, our enrollment has actually gone up, which is also sort of deceiving. So I took out the top two numbers, the early childhood and the preschool, because actually the preschool shows an increase from 33 to 59, so an increase of 26 students. But if you look at just the graph on the right, and you go K through 12, you can see that we started the year with 1,003 students, and then November 6, 985, and we're currently at 980. So really, we've gone down about 23 students. That makes sense? And I guess what I'm looking for is some guidance on what you would like from enrollment numbers, because I don't understand why we use ECSE numbers, because those are not really a number that's reported to the state. And I also realize that the Z numbers are good. If you go back to the previous slide where they do show the Futures Choice ALC, I think that's good information, but I think it's sort of deceiving sometimes when you're looking at the number. So I like that, but what I would really like to start to do, and I can go back and try to adjust some of this. Patty printed me up the reports just for this year, and I know I could go back a few years, but I'd really like to start reporting the early childhood, preschool, and the K-12. Because I know that the early childhood preschool can fluctuate more, but I think what we're most concerned about is our K-12 numbers, because that's really what we're using to make decisions and decide what's going on in our district. And I think I'm not super concerned with the number of students that we've lost. That's something every district's seeing. And there is legislation that's being proposed to use last year's numbers or other types of things that we can do to offset that. Because I know when Amy talks later in her revised budget, losing 23 students does have an impact on our budget. I mean, it's a $250,000. So I think it's important to do that, but I'm a little concerned if we're using numbers that don't really represent the amount of money we're bringing in. So I would just like to be more accurate with those, because I think that's the number that we should build our budget on, based on the number of students that we're actually getting funding for, versus what's been done in the past, which I get it, but there is funding for a ECSE, but some of those numbers are actually can be replicated. So it's confusing. Does that make sense? So, and Patty gave me kind of a history on that today, what years those got added, and I'm not really sure why they're added. Because they're confusing to me, because if you can multiply count a kid, if a kid could be counted as ECSE, but also as preschool, and then those change during the year, I mean, we're not really changing the number of students, we're just changing where they're at. So I think it would be better just to count the number of students that are actually in the district and the ones we're getting funding for versus programmatically like ECSE. That makes sense? All right. So that's kind of the enrollment update. I just wanted to be clear about that. Yes, the number is down and it is concerning. I think that's a concern for everybody. And I think it really depends on how you look at the numbers, because like I said, if you're using early childhood and preschool, our enrollment's going up. But if you just look at K-12, it's down 23. But it's not down as bad as if you were using ECSE, which was kind of a misinterpretation anyway. Okay?
Are there any questions? If not, we'll move on. Student council report.
Hi, so with Student Council, we just wrapped up the food drive this week and we have a pretty generous donation to give to the Casson Food Shelf. We're just getting started with a plastic drive. We're partnering with the Lions Club for this. Our goal is to collect 80 pounds of plastic to put a bench in the new Lions Park. And that's it.
What are the things of plastic? What kinds of plastic are you collecting?
It's just like plastic, like bags or like Ziploc bags, any plastic packaging. It just has to be clean and dry.
Okay. All right, thank you, Brenna.
Yep.
Can it be colored?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zed report.
All I really have, I guess, yeah, we had a meeting. We're still waiting on a purchase agreement. We were told at our meeting, well, it'd be the 28th, that they were expecting one on Friday. Well, so far it hasn't happened. I'm not sure what the holdup is. Casson's just awful tight on how, or worried about if something were to happen, what would happen with that land, I guess. They want conditions and it's just going back and forth between lawyers, I guess.
Yeah, and like Lloyd said, it's something that we thought would have been done, a week ago Friday. And neither one of us have been able to really get an update on why it's not progressing.
They keep saying they want it there, but yeah. My understanding, Casson has a board meeting tonight also. Now, whether something will come out of that, I don't know, but yeah, if and when I hear something, I'll pass the word along. Well, I don't know if everybody got information from the board meeting or the packet before the board meeting. I think there were some drawings and yeah, there was quite a list of stuff, but
That was one of the updates that I shared.
yeah.
I think that I tried to outline kind of some of the concerns Casson had in that as well.
Otherwise, that's it, I guess, unless there's a question.
Okay. If there's no questions, thank you, Lloyd.
Yep.
Principals report.
All right, we'll start with Mary.
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's staying warm tonight. I too, like Craig, just wanted the vaccination rollout, talking with other districts around the area. I've been texted multiple times by many different schools, so thank you to Dodge County Public Health And then also we have done 2 rounds of saliva testing. And so Kendra and Tessa have done a great job with that. And testing everybody and from, the bus drivers to anybody that wants to take that. So I appreciate all that. Last week, even though we had an early out and a late start, we had our first full week of K2 back in the building. Have another week of that, and then 3 through 5 will be returning 5 days a week as well. Report cards are done. Were mailed out last week, and so now just digging into the data and focusing on what we need to cover the second half of the year. I'm sure you're well aware, but the numbers of where we were at in the last 3 years compared to where we're at this year is a little down. So we just really need to focus in on what the students need for the remainder of the years and make the most out of these next couple full months of school that we have going. We're preparing for kindergarten roundup, getting ready for placing students, schedule, all those things for next year. And we did start access testing today. So we had our first round, and we have other dates for MCAs coming up here in the next couple months. Just want to let you know the distance learners right now, I don't know what that's going to look like, but they are encouraging, or they're going to ask them to test from home. So that's another layer component that I don't know what it will look like, but just so you know that. And then just our team, there hasn't been a day. I've said this over and over again. I mean, we were down several teachers today, so I had to pull teachers from other places to cover those gen classrooms, and they're just doing an awesome job. The staff is just awesome, and their positivity and willingness to help. So when you see our teachers out and about, not just at my building, at Luke and Shane's building too, just make sure you tell them thank you. We're asking them to do things out of the norm every single day, and they've done so with pride. And you should be very proud that you are school board of our teachers and our staff. So just want to say thank you to all of them. Any questions for me?
All right, Shane.
As Mary mentioned, the end of the first semester was last week, and our Q2 report cards were sent out. We got those out into mailboxes beginning on Tuesday. Our Family Flex numbers have remained fairly consistent, with a few going distance learning for the start of the second semester and some returning. But at the middle school, we're still under 30 total individuals. The number today was about 26, and that stayed pretty static since we came back in January. Fridays, Fridays remain to be an important day for our student interventions. We have many students coming in. It's an important day for our teachers as well, not only for the one-on-one contacts, but we have our team meetings, and they have some common planning time. So the Fridays remain important for us in the middle school, and I believe the staff, I can speak for the entire staff, that they're very thankful for those days. Also wanted to put on your radar that the middle school conferences are coming up. The plan is for 2 nights on March 1st and on March 4th, and those conferences will be held virtually. So we'll have invitations being sent out by all of the staff to parents and guardians to register for a virtual parent-teacher conference this spring. We did virtual parent-teacher conferences in the fall, and they were effective, but we didn't reach as many families as we wanted to, so we're going to try to beef up the communication out so we get a better turnout for our conferences this spring. The next page, if you want to slip, is onto the activities. The month of January, as I reported at the last board meeting, activities began January 14th with contests. It has been extremely busy around here. I cannot say enough good things for our coaches and our athletes. So a few of the pictures that you're seeing here is our dance team is on the upper left. Our dance team is participating in HVL events, and they're competing as a JV jazz and a JV high kick team, and they are doing amazingly well. I know this past Saturday they took a first, and I want to say a second for their a first and a third. Thank you. But the team, and I know Wendy has talked about this in the past, but when I walk into practices of the dance team, I see nothing but smiles and very focused hard work going on. So I'm very grateful for the work that our dancers and our coaches are doing there. We did have a one-act play performance that took 4th in the subsection. That is the upper pictures on your right. Thank you to Ms. Stiller and the participants to our one-act play. It was a very different year in one-act play. You can see that they performed in masks, That was a little bit of student choice in doing it that way. And I'm very thankful that we're able to offer that experience for our students. Moving down, you see a couple pictures of basketball games. We've had games at home and games on the road. Basketball games are being played in masks when the masks can stay up. But I'm very proud of our athletes there. And again, watching them be able to do the things that they love on a nightly basis is a very good thing. Our hockey team, our co-op with Casson Manorville and Dodge County, we have some great success happening. I know McKenna is on here, or she was on here a little bit earlier ago. The girls in particular are doing amazingly well. And McKenna and Caitlin are making a lot of headlines for us as Cobras on the Dodge County Co-op hockey team. I would be amiss if I didn't bring up wrestling, that lower right hand, our wrestling events. We've had a few home event triangulars are a struggle because we can never have all three communities in the gym at the same time. So it's a little bit of a shell game, moving parents around and athletes around, but we're thankful for the wrestling season. And as we speak, our wrestling team is over in Hayfield, wrestling against Westfield, which is a co-op of Hayfield and Blooming Prairie, and Lewiston, Altura, Rushford, Peterson. And our boys are on the road this evening for boys basketball at Byron. So you want to go to the next slide, Mr. Schlichting? Just last week, the State High School League announced that there will be postseasons, and what they will look like is still a little bit to be determined. However, it will not, it's not going to happen at major sites. In the past, sections would happen at Mayo Civic Center. All of the section events will happen at host schools, so they'll happen in high school gymnasiums. They're looking at having a couple section tournaments and then going on to what they're calling an outstate tournament to match up different section champions. That's the case for all of our sports this winter, including hockey and basketball and wrestling. So there will be some form of a postseason for our winter activities. I wanted to shout out Colt Ullum. If any of you have had a chance to watch any of our streaming that we do here at our home events, I would put it up against any of the streaming that we watch when our teams are on the road. Colt has added advertising, there are commercials. He finds guest announcers to work alongside of him. And it's a lot of fun to watch a Triton Cobra event, even if you can't be in the gym. I encourage you to check one out on the stream because I would put our streaming experience up there with the school.
And I'll also say he actually announces when we're playing other, like in a triangular, there's always a third match that doesn't involve either of your home team. It's both away teams. He even does the announcing for that. And it's sort of frustrating because as a parent, when I've watched that match at other schools, there have been cases where they don't even have the sound turned on. So it's very frustrating because you can't be there for one, because those are the schools that don't even allow away visitors to come to the match. But then on top of it, the streaming experience is rather miserable. So a huge shout out, and I'll give you credit too, Shane, because I know early on in the COVID experience, you were like, we needed to make sure we've got the equipment to do this. So thank you, because what we've got going on has been top notch. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Schlichting, and we're proud of it. And it's a team approach, and I think we can be proud of the streaming experience we're offering for our fans. I know one triangular wrestling, the first one of the year, we had over 1,700 viewers of the stream. 1,700. It's on a YouTube channel, so you can track how many people watch. So it's not just moms and dads. There are people across the country, and grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, friends, alumni. They're checking out what's going on here at Triton, and I'm proud of what we can show them. Another bullet there, just proud of the coaches and athletes for overcoming adversity. Schedules are constantly changing. Kids are asked to do things that at times it doesn't even make quite much sense. For example, that I always give is after a wrestling match, they can't shake hands. Explain to me why someone that just wrestled for 6 minutes against each other can't shake hands. But so there's a lot of things going on. Our athletes and our coaches are overcoming adversity, and that's one of our life lessons that we are aiming to provide through our activities. Thus far, through the winter season, speaking 7 through 12, we've only had one COVID incident. That's a testament to the safety precautions that have been put in place. So what we're doing is working. Our programs are up and running. A lot of other schools have had multiple situations. And that's not saying that they're doing anything wrong. It's set up with, if there's one positive case on a program, it is going to shut down a pod, and a pod being up to about 25 players that practice together on a regular basis. But right now, knock on wood, we've only had one situation of a lower level exposure, so they missed a few games, but all of our varsity events have gone off, at least the ones that we're able to provide. No games have been canceled because of Triton COVID situations. Looking ahead to the spring, we're waiting to hear on what it will look like. A lot of questions out there. I saw Ms. Swanson was on here, and we don't even know what a track meet will look like. We're assuming that we can have 3, maybe 4 teams here. So a lot of that information is yet to come. Hopefully by the next school board meeting, I'll have information on what the spring sports will look like. And then I've got a couple other notes I didn't want to leave off. The spring musical, we will have a spring show take place this spring. We're excited to be able to offer that to our students. In FFA, we've recently had 3 state qualifiers, including Kaya Avery and Anna Ridnour qualified in 2 different events. Kaya and Anna both qualified in discussion, and Anna also qualified in speaking. So congratulations to those 2 students, and we're expecting more FFA state qualifiers to come. Our Technovation program, which is ran by Mr. Florians, is up and running. That is a program that we've talked about in years past, but it's based around the development of an app, and he has a handful of students working after school with him down here in the middle school. And last one that I was going to mention, well, I think I mentioned One Act Play finished 4th in the subsection. So that's kind of a quick overview of activities at this point. Do you have any questions for me, either on the middle school front or the activities front? Thank you.
All right, Mr. Luderman.
All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Before I get started tonight, when the student council was presenting, I wanted to chime in, but I figured I'd wait my turn. Extremely proud of that group. They've done some great things this year, and their advisor, Miss Swanson. We're preparing for a snow week here in the next few weeks, so we're very excited about that. And the one thing I'm most proud of, I think, during a pandemic school year, a lot of times you can find excuses and be frustrated and things, and they have continued to find ways to engage our students in meaningful activities. So student council folks, if you're still on here, please know, and Miss Swanson as well, please know we appreciate you and all you're doing and all you will do throughout the course of the year. So we appreciate you. It was National School Counseling Week a week ago. So I believe we have the best team at Triton here. And I believe I speak for Mrs. Moore and Mr. Van Beek on that as well. And I think School Counseling Week, it takes place in an appropriate time because the majority of schools across the nation at this time have a transition between semesters. And that's a very, very challenging time for our counselors. You know, they're worried about the credits and students and credit recovery and working with staff throughout that process. But Christy here in our building continues to exceed expectations, and we're fortunate to have her here at Triton. A few weeks ago, we celebrated our paraprofessionals. I know throughout our building, pre-K through 12, these individuals do fantastic work. They are there every single day with our students and making sure they have what they need so they can be successful in school and, more importantly, in life. So paraprofessionals, we don't say it enough, but we thank you for all you do. And really, it was paraprofessional week. We could have paraprofessional week every single week of the school year because these folks do tremendous work. So thank you, paras. I wanted to update the board and members on the call here tonight about some updates as you transition to the second half of the school year. There are some really important culminating events that take place. And throughout the pandemic, as we got started a year ago, it was prominent in discussion. So I wanted to start the discussion and report on this tonight. So if you think about the culminating experiences, you think of a number of things at Triton. You think of senior project, you think of your school activities, you think of prom and graduation, right? So a number of things going on, and we wanted to report on those. I want to be clear that we'll continue to work to provide the best experiences that we can for our students and families. But at the same time, we want to make sure we're following all the protocols that we need to make sure everyone is safe. So with that in mind, it doesn't mean that we won't do activities. It means they may have to look in a little bit of a different way. And at this point, unfortunately, we are still awaiting additional information to determine what we can and cannot do. So obviously we have a date for prom. That's set, the facility is reserved. We're doing our best to plan for that. But no, if the regulations for gatherings don't change for indoors, we have to change what we do for a grand march. And if they don't change, obviously we cannot be in that enclosed space and dancing as well. So know that we'll continue to work with our students, with our parents, with the venue as well, and provide the best experience we can. We did book another date. It's listed there in case we need to push things back in the event. Let's say, for instance, that the restrictions would change on May the 1st. So we're going to do our best to provide the best prom experience we can for our students this year. So the graduation piece, unfortunately with this, we're waiting at this time as well. We want to learn a little bit more from our seniors and parents on what would prefer. I want you to know at this time we have booked, if you recall the graduation from a year ago, it was a drive-in movie type piece. We have booked the stage for that for this coming school year as well. It doesn't mean we'll go with that. If we can go with the indoor traditional commencement, obviously we'd prefer to do that. But as a backup, we wanted to make sure and book the stage as a just in case. So we're waiting for some more clarifications again on what the gatherings can be like indoors and outdoors at that time. So you can expect to receive an update on prom and graduation at board meetings until they take place. And we're going to increase communication with parents and students here as the dates approach. Mr. Schlichting, you can go to the next one, sir. All right, the end of semester one, we talked about that on the previous slide, but extremely proud of our students and staff. I can tell you the number of failing grades we had at this semester is concerning. I'll be extremely honest with you there, but it was a big improvement from the midterm. All right, so we had a drastic improvement from midterm grades till the end of the semester. And I'm proud of our students for that and proud of our staff. I think they prioritized instruction and what we needed to do to make sure students earn the credit and finished off the course to the best of their abilities. I'll be honest with you as well in terms of attendance and engagement. We are concerned about those days when students are at home and how much schoolwork is being accomplished on those days. That's why when you receive the report on the next board meeting, when we ask for approval, when we start the roll-in process, we're going to ask that students zoom into their classes on their days at home at that time. So right now, students on their days at home, there's work that's assigned for them to do, and they also have to respond with an attendance form. Just based on the data that we're receiving on the attendance form, it's not very good and it needs to improve. So we know if a student is not even submitting attendance, they're probably not engaged in school at that time too. So as part of the roll-in process, the next time we meet, wanted to give you a clarification that we will seek approval for that change as well. With attendance, the number of unexcused absences, I think the more students are in school, the better it is for them. And we've seen that with our data too. So with that, one piece I'm proud of, when we made the transition at semesters, we called all the Family Flex students to make sure that they were aware of the opportunity to come back in person. So our number of Flex students is more than reduced by half. So we're excited to welcome a lot of those students back to school. We're seeing a few of them for the first time in almost a year. So it's been great to have more students in the building here the past few weeks. In terms of the calendar updates, the stake feed's approaching. I know it's a big event for our FFA. As Shane had noted, the conferences are approaching. Our date here is March the 1st, and those will be in a virtual format as well. I know Mrs. Moram, she talked about the tests approaching. Miss Maloney has done a great job of putting this program together, but the MCAs we take in the building here are listed there. And we are excited for the ACT and ASVAB and pre-ACT on the 30th of March. So lots of important information that's approaching. And it seems like this point in the school year, things speed up. So we're excited to continue the work. Any questions?
Luke, that number for going from 62 to 30, so that's just 9 through 12?
9 through 12. And it's actually more, when I put this together this weekend, it was close to the 30ish. I think it's 27 or 8 today.
Does Shane have an idea of how many for middle school? Did it affect middle school in any way?
We stayed static right around the 26 mark.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
think the realization when they begin to see semester grades for a number of our students, they realize the plan that they were on. For some students, it works great. For others, it's great to have them back in the building.
And at the middle school, unfortunately, without the credit, I will be honest that a lot of our family flexors, we have a handful of them that are disengaged completely. So it's easy for them to say that we'll just be distance learners where they're not really being any sort of a learner right now. And we call them, we check in on them. We have staff that are assigned various family flexors. And there's a handful, I would say a dozen of those students that are of the 26 that are basically missing out on education at this point.
Anything else tonight, folks? If not, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Superintendent's report?
Yeah, a few things. One, I just wanted to let you know that when I met with Amy last week reviewing budget, we do have some money in our safe school levy that I want to use. Our camera system has been giving us issues, so looking at upgrading that, getting Damon agreed, Damon, who we work with, that there's definitely some things we can do to upgrade it. So looking at doing that. I did a breakdown of the COVID monies. Of course, we have the CARES Act, GEARS money, ESSER 1, and now ESSER 2. Did a breakdown of that. We still have yet to hear on the ESSER 2, the finalization of the numbers. So waiting on that to get a final number. But I did have Amy put together a breakdown, and I'll email that PDF to you with all of that information. Vaccination adjusting calendar. I wanted to throw this by you. Talked with public health today about vaccination number 2. High priority or high significance of the people feeling ill, not being able to report to work. They're saying that roughly about 50%-ish. When you start to look at the fact that we had probably 60 people vaccinated, I'm concerned. And I had a really plausible idea brought to me because February 24th just happens to be the date that we were going to have a 2-hour late start. And it would work to move the what would be a distance learning day for 6/12 to Wednesday rather than Friday. I thought that was a good idea, but I just wanted to run that by you guys tonight. It would be a change in our calendar, but I think it's a way to prevent having to cancel school because that is a fear. And I understand that that'll happen the following week as well, but I'd rather have everybody vaccinated and taken care of than worrying about having to cancel school for a day. But from what I'm hearing, the time frame for the side effects is usually limited to a day at most. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
How would that look at the elementary then? Because we don't have a distance learning day on Friday.
That's something we could talk about there too.
Okay.
So when is this group set to be revaccinated for their second dose?
The 23rd which is a Tuesday.
I am one of those people who had a reaction to the second dose, and it was about 24 hours. My reaction lasted about 8 to 10 hours. And
But I
that
do think,
seems fairly typical, I think.
I just think it's something we need to plan on. I would like to hope that it's not, but the reality is, when I asked public health, they said it's gonna happen. So if we know that, let's plan for it. Does that sound reasonable? Maybe we can come with a plan next, or at the special meeting, just kind of update you, because I hadn't even had a chance to talk to Mary about that with elementary. We do have the special board meeting coming up next week on the 16th at 7. Bid opening date is tomorrow, February 9th at 4 o'clock, and that's in the PAC. You are welcome to attend that if you would like. And our COVID update, Yahoo, 0 active cases. We do have 43 that are still quarantined, but it's been a long time since we've seen that number at 0. And I think the county case rate is as low as it's ever been since like October. So things are looking up, and it's pretty exciting, because I think we're seeing more people vaccinated on a daily basis than we are getting sick. So I think things are headed in the right direction. Any questions for me on that?
I just want to commend you on that COVID calendar. I look at it every day in the afternoon, and it's encouraging to see those numbers going down.
Light at the end of the tunnel. And thank you, Luke and Shane, for your diligence in updating those numbers, because I can't take credit for that. And Amy, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
All right, we had to put the budget discussion at the end. Amy had to do more than one meeting tonight, so thanks for being here, Amy.
Yeah, thank you for putting me at the end. I appreciate that. A little overbooking today, but anyway. Let's see, do you want to pull up my PowerPoint?
Yep.
I'm just going to kind of go over some of the major highlights as far as what changes we need to make this year to the revised budget. So if you want to go to the next slide, I know Craig kind of talked on enrollment already, so I did use that 1,016 number to base our spending on. I do like to be conservative. Hopefully it'll turn out better. But yeah, I'd like to be conservative on that point. If you go to the next slide, please. So looking at the adjustments we had to make for revenue. So obviously, because of that enrollment decline, that does affect our state aid. So that did create a decrease in state aid revenue of about $240,000. And that's based specifically on that declining enrollment. On the positive side, as Craig also mentioned, we've got several pots of CARES Act funding. These can be used for CARES related things. Some of it can also be used to kind of supplant some of our basic operating things that we have lost due to that declining enrollment. So it's helping us out in multiple ways. So the GEAR funds, those are used specifically for tech needs and for summer school catch up. So we received about $133,000 in those funds so far. The ESSER 1 funds, both of these pots we got access to last summer. The ESSER funds we've gotten about $90,000 at this point, and those are they're more wide open. We can use it for extra staffing needs, extra custodial, PPE, tech, transportation, lots of things. And the same application goes to the CRF funds, and those were a kind of a short-term pot we got. We received them back in like August or September, and those had to be spent by the end of December. So those were a quick turnaround, but those were a huge help too, and that was about almost $288,000. And additionally, we've been fortunate to receive local funds from the county and from Dodge Center, and that was a total of $157,000. And then the ESSER 2 funds, which are coming up, they're telling us that our estimate for that is about $568,000. From the meetings I've been in, it sounds like I should have a little more guidance on that maybe in about a week. So at that point, we'll know maybe when we're getting it or how much we're actually getting and what we can spend it on. So that'll be some good help coming in too. Okay, and then going to the expense side, just some of the adjustments with this revised budget. Salaries and wages. We increased certified staffing by about 161,000, support staff by about 59,000, and custodial by about almost 22. The majority of these changes were based on our needs with COVID, making sure we've got the right coverage for all of our different learning models and situations. So we can use our COVID funds to support those extra costs.
And that's where it's kind of crazy because it seems like we've got a lot of money to spend there, but when you start to look at how quickly it goes when you use it on staff, it's really not a lot.
Yep, it does. Yep. See, next slide would be good. And then going along with that, obviously, if you adjust salaries, benefits kind of go with that too. So, and these are based on staff choices and then increases to our health plans too. So looking at health insurance, that went up about 50,000. Annuity plans about 20,000. Then with HRAs, we did actually have a little reduction of about 13,000. You go next slide, please. So looking at like purchase services and other kinds of major costs, I was able to make some reductions in some of our fees and some of our contracts just based on what our actual costs are coming in at for these kind of services. So between fees and other services, we were saving about 40,000. And then I did up the budget for the Safe Schools restricted funds for about 103,000. And this is from the front entry project that we did last summer. I think when I did the original prelim budget, that wasn't budgeted for. So we took those reserved Safe Schools monies. And that was, if you remember last year, we got a one-time extra pot of Safe Schools money of about 140,000. And that's in addition to our annual Safe Schools money that we get. So that's what we used the majority of that funding for, was that safe front entry project. Okay. So looking overall at the overall budget, and this is just our general fund, this first page here. We've got our unassigned up at the top. So we started the year with the 10.21% fund balance. Looking at revenues of about 11.3 million, expenditures of about 10.9. So we should be ending the year with an increase to our fund balance of about almost 450,000. So we should be upping our unassigned fund balance to about 11.37%. So this is great. We're on the right track for that pot. And another way we can help do that, if you look at all the lines underneath this are reserved pots. So we're going to maximize these reserved pots as much as we can before we touch our unassigned. So like you'll see like staff development, learning and development, basic skills, you'll see those are kind of an in and out because we're going to maximize those funds as much as possible before we touch the unassigned. Things like long-term facilities maintenance, operating capital, those line items we kind of like to keep it balanced for projects. We kind of use it as a current year projects, but then we like to use that for some future planning as well. So those we like to try and keep the balance in. So yeah, so overall, general fund looks very good. Any specific questions on the general fund piece of it? Okay. If not, then if we go to the next slide, we can look at the other funds. So looking at the top, food service fund, the first one. We started the year with a $22,000 fund balance. Without having all of the revenue that we regularly do, we are kind of spending that went down a little bit. So we're estimating about a $16,000 fund balance at the end of the year. And that's just because at this point, the only revenue coming in is from the federal government for the summer food service to pay for the free breakfast and lunches. So we're not really taking in much revenue for student sales at this point, but it's still maintaining okay. So it's coming out all right at this point. Community ed, everything is coming in out, coming in okay. Obviously the general community ed pot is down a little bit just because we're not able to have a lot of those open programming classes. So once things open back up, that will look better. But all the other programs are able to function fairly well, as well as they can. So we are still seeing revenue in early childhood and school readiness and adult ed. So those are doing okay. And then community ed actually was also able to secure a grant program through the state to help support the losses from childcare. So they were able to receive $9,000 in grant funding to help support that. So that was great. You'll see a new line item that was not here in the beginning, the prelim budget, and this is for the construction fund. So these funds will actually be coming in, I believe, the end of this week or Wednesday. Yes, they're coming in Wednesday. So yeah, we're looking at 7.7 million coming in on Wednesday. Estimating that, since the bulk of the project will probably be done over the summer, figure out, some of it in June, some of it in July. So yeah. But we're going to kind of maximize these funds and do a little investing until things start kicking in to try and earn a little interest on that as well. And then debt service fund is pretty straightforward. It's just we receive levy and aid revenue based on what our principal and interest payments are for the year. So it's kind of just an in and out on debt service. And then scholarship fund, same, it's just kind of an in and out. We receive those scholarships from different community areas and then payouts to the students that are in those scholarships. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't know if there's any specific questions on any of the different funds.
Do we have any questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve 7.8?
I'll move to approve. This is Jim.
Motion by Jim,
Missy will second.
second by Missy. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Amy.
Right, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, Amy.
Do we have any other new business? If not, we'll just remember we have our special meeting on Tuesday, February 16th at 7 p.m. And our next regular school board meeting is March 15th at 6 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Dewey.
Motion by Dewey. We have a second?
Missy,
Second, Jim.
Second by Jim. We'll do a roll call vote. Dewey,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Aye.
Jim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
and Rebecca, yes. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.